Hi everyone, this is Nikki Burnett, and I wanted to make a video to show you a little more in-depth look at the advanced edition of my Grayscale coloring book. This is volume 1. I hope there will be many more volumes to come. And I did come out with a beginner's and an advanced edition of the book. I made other videos talking about the differences in the two books, and then one video specifically for the beginner's edition, so you can look for those links if you're interested in those videos. But this one's specifically about the advanced edition. This is the cover of the advanced edition. It features my witch Priscilla, and for the advanced edition I chose a color scheme of purple and teal, which is one of my favorite color combinations lately. This is the back cover of the book. It shows all 20 images that are included inside, and also has some features down there at the bottom. You can see that the cover is really nice and thick and glossy. We'll just start flipping through the book. This is the title page, which again features Priscilla. The copyright page with some additional information, some of my websites, and a little bit of information about myself and the coloring books that I have out right now. And this is the start of the introduction text for the advanced edition. I decided it was very important when I wanted to come out with a Grayscale coloring book to include a lot of information so that you would know tips, tricks, and techniques to use inside the book, and also just cover the basics of what Grayscale coloring is. So on this page, that's what I do. I talk about what is Grayscale coloring. I show a side-by-side image of a traditional coloring page and a Grayscale coloring page. I talk about the benefits of coloring over Grayscale, what materials you can use, and the techniques that you can use. That's all on the first page. And then in the advanced edition, I feature two little, I would say, mini tutorials. One is about colored pencils, and I talk about how you pick a light, medium, and a dark shade of a color. And when using the advanced edition of the book, the Grayscale image just sort of becomes a guide as to where to place your colors. So I try to show you in pictures how you go about doing that with colored pencils, and I have it written out in steps so that you can read through it. And this is the advanced marker techniques. It's the same technique, but you use markers instead. So I talk about that. And I also wanted to show, when I set out to make this book, I really wanted to make it a pretty book and wanted to make it very enjoyable for you to look through and flip through. So I spent a lot of time designing the book, and this is the background sort of stationery that I designed for the book that looks almost like a watercolor paper, has like a mottled texture to it with like ink splatters, and it extends all the way to the edge of the paper, creates a really nice look. So I hope you all enjoy that feature as you're flipping through the book. And then in the last page of the introduction text, I talk about how to blend colored pencils on top of Grayscale, talk a little bit about the paper, and just a short little summary about the book. And here starts one of my favorite features of my Grayscale coloring books, and these are the tester sheet pages. As I was designing the books, I was doing a lot of test colorings, and I wasted a lot of paper because I found that I wanted to try out different color schemes. It's very quick and easy to see what the piece is going to look like, so I found myself rapidly trying to color them to see what they'd look like and testing out different media. I decided to experiment with markers and then colored pencils, and I just wasted page after page. So to help you with that issue, because I didn't want you to experiment on your large page and then not have something to color, I decided to include two small tester images of each larger image that's inside the book. It's the exact same image, just smaller, and I'd say they're a little smaller than a trading card size. about 2.5 by 3 inches, somewhere around there. And so you can use those to test out your color schemes and your media. And then on the left-hand side, I have a little colored image in a little frame design. And these are the colors that I chose for the original painting. I know sometimes when I'm coloring, I don't like to think about color selection, and I just like to follow something. I find it very stress relieving, so I wanted to include the colors that I chose in case you just wanted to pick up your pencils or markers and start coloring without much thought process behind it. So the fun part about these tester sheet pages is that they are single-sided. So if you come up with a color scheme on your tester image that you really like, or if you want to use mine, you can easily cut them out of the book and use them next to your larger image as you're coloring. So I hope you all enjoy that as well. So I'll just flip through the rest of the tester sheets here. There are 7 pages of tester sheets, and they're each formatted with 3 images in rows. So hopefully it'll be very easy to find, and they're in the same order that the images appear in the book, so hopefully it'll be very easy for you to find the image that you want to work on. This is the last tester sheet page, and you'll see that it's on that same sort of a background paper that I designed. So hopefully it'll be very pretty for you to look through and flip through. And here is the first coloring page in the Advanced Edition book. So I wanted to talk about another feature that I decided to include, and that is the black borders. I found when I was coloring, especially when using markers and you want to move very quickly, that it was very hard to keep a clean edge. And to solve that problem, I decided to have a black border that extends all the way to the edge of the page. And you will find when you're coloring that you can color right over this for the most part, and you won't see any of your lines or colored pencil marks or markers. I found maybe with some light colored pencils it did show up on it, so just be careful with that. But for the most part, you can't really see it at all. So then once you're done coloring, it creates a nice clean line, and it also looks almost like a matted print when you're done. So since they're all single-sided, I thought you all might like to remove them from the book, and it would be nice for display purposes. So I hope you enjoy that as well. Again, this is Priscilla. She's a poisonous witch holding a poison bottle. And now I'll just flip through the pages and talk a little bit about the names of the images and what they are. This is Brinley. She's a dragonfly fairy. This is Fallon and her wolf companion. This is Coraline, and she is a Halloween witch sitting on a pumpkin and holding a little miniature pumpkin. And this is Brianna. She is a vampire fairy in a cemetery with some candles. This is Jaina, and she is a mermaid surrounded with koi fish. And you're probably wondering what makes this the Advanced Edition, and it does feature lighter grayscale images than the Beginner's Edition book. And again, you can see all that in the comparison video. But the lighter grayscale images allow for more flexibility and control over your final coloring. You're not really dictated to the choices that I made in the painting, so you could choose to make an area that I had very dark on my painting, and you could have it to be a medium shade or even a light shade, depending on what colors you choose. So you have a little bit more flexibility there. You will find that you have to darken a lot of the areas and add your own shading to really make the image pop and come to life, especially when using colored pencils. They're a very opaque medium, so they will cover up a lot of the shadows, so you'll need to add a lot of your own shading. So I would recommend this book for people that like to add their own shading and have a little bit more flexibility over their final coloring. This is Chelsea. She is a Halloween witch in a haunted cuckoo clock. This is Lisha. She's a Vampire Fairy on Gothic architecture. This is Zoe. She's a Halloween witch sitting inside a pumpkin. This is Telsa. She is a steampunk girl with a top hat and goggles. Ivania, who is a harvest witch, and she has an adorable little scarecrow companion and some vegetables in her basket. Vienna, a Valentine's Day mermaid. Heather, a witch sitting on an ornate throne. She's got some columns behind her with roses and her fairy kitty friends. This is a very detailed piece. Edeline, she's an Arctic mermaid with harp seal friends. Alita and Jax. Alita is the witch, and she's holding her friend Jax, who is a winged cat with a very ornate background on that one. Constance, another steampunk girl with a miniature Victorian top hat with feathers. Marissa, a witch. She's brewing something in her cauldron in the forest. Cassandra, she's a vampire. Cassia, she's a witch walking through an entryway into the clouds outside. And Rain, she has a very ornate mask and she is holding a raven. And that's the end of the Advanced Edition book. If you think that the images are too light and you would like more assistance with shading, I would definitely take a look at my Beginner's Edition book, which offers the darker grayscale images for you to do this. That video is also on my YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoyed this little flip through of the book, and if you're interested in purchasing the Advanced Edition, hopefully you understand a little bit more about the book. I do have a whole section of my website dedicated to grayscale coloring. It's www.grayscalecoloring.com. That's gray with an E, not an A. I'll have the link below. There's a lot of supplemental material on the website that I developed specifically for this book. There are tutorials and product reviews for coloring over grayscale. And the most fun thing is there's a coloring gallery, and I would love for you to submit your finished colorings that you've created from the book. All the information there is on the website on how to submit the book, or your finished colorings. I would love to see them. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and more importantly, I hope you enjoy coloring in my Advanced Edition of my Grayscale coloring book. Thank you so much for watching.